Happy Hallows Eve, friends and lovers. Welcome back to For Your Reference. We are starting off with Quid Pro Mo. And if you've listened to our podcast, you know that KT and OT are a learned people. So, of course, we're going to have learned friends. This is Alexa and Kelsey from the Psyched podcast. Take the promo away.
Hi, I'm Kelsey. And I'm Alexa. And have you always been curious if Winona Ryder is actually crazy?
Are you dying to learn how to stay out of a cult?
Then you should definitely check out the Psyched podcast, the podcast where two psychotherapists analyze real and fictional figures from pop culture and tell you all about the obscure psychological phenomenon that your Psych 101 class didn't have time to tell you about.
So grab your cocktail and head over to thepsychedpodcast.com and check us out.
And don't forget to go to therapy.
And get your shit together.
Bye.
Hey, friends and lovers. Welcome back to For Your Reference. You got your hosts, KT
and OT.
And happy spooky Halloween, guys. What a time to be alive. As you read the title, we are covering Freddy versus Jason, 2003.
Best horror villains ever.
Freddy or not, here I come in your dreams. Wow. Are you ready, OT?
Yeah. Just trying to contain all my ghoulies.
Well, we hope you've taken a big nap because we are diving into the iconic of the two horror characters, and I know you'll definitely bring up Pennywise in this episode as well.
Don't.
So let's get into the stats. Director Ronnie Yu, who's a Hong Kong actor, he did direct also Chucky as well. And he's done quite a lot. He has quite a comprehensive sort of portfolio. You also have Damien Shannon and Mark Swift writing it. Originally, the final script was 2.5 hours, and I'm so glad they culled it into 90 minutes.
Yeah, if that was today, it would probably be a 3-hour movie.
You're going to turn into like a Cloud Atlas situation. No one, you don't have any business doing long films like that.
Oh, Cloud Atlas, bloody hell.
Hashtag never forget. Even your girl Halle Berry can do wrong, apparently. So Freddy vs. Jason came out in 2003. The budget, do you want to guess, OT?
20 mil?
30 mil. That's amazing.
Yeah.
The CG wasn't great, but you know, in horror sorts of movies, you kind of need to give it a pass.
Surely it got way more than that in once it got released, right?
Yeah, but my point is, in regards to the budget that they had, the achievable. But I think they achieved quite a lot within that budget.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, and worldwide gross, according to IMDb, $114.9 million.
Ooh, that's a lot, especially for back then. Like, that's just amazing. Even now, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of butter knives. Yeah, definitely. Let's just do a quick skim of the cast. You've got Robert Englund reprising his role as Freddy. This was the last time he actually played Freddy in a film sort of capacity. We have Ken Kersinger, who was quite new. He's been a stuntman for Jason, but he actually played Jason in this film. According to IMDb trivia, they chose him over the original fella because he is a lot taller. So they wanted that David Goliath sort of dynamic in the film. So we've got him. Oh, Kelly Rowland. Hey, girl, hey. She's the third listed on IMDb, would you believe? Good for her.
She did last in the movie.
Good for her. And exactly. And that alone is accolades for all. So we've got Monica Keena playing Laurie. We have Jason Ritter playing Will. And a whole slew of characters in this film. And a whole lot of references. Let's get into first impressions. Because this is a spooky reference bar mitzvah. I am all about the singing today. Let's just capture off, horror movies generally, what Halloween was like, if there is a Halloween in Kenya. I think everybody would love to know if that exists. And the Freddy and Jason sort of dynamic, what did you think going into it? And I guess we'll dive into the film after that. So, OT.
Oh, wow. Where do I start? Like, I was a fan of Jason and Freddy from a young age, and the fact that they did this, I think it blew my mind at the time. I wasn't allowed to watch this when it came out back then, but I think 2 years later, I just sneaked in a DVD and just went to town, and it was bloody amazing. A lot of people took it too seriously, and they forget what this is. This is just for fans of the horror movies. Getting to see the two worlds collide and just to see the best of both Jason and Freddy. I know, like, I personally, I really enjoyed this.
In your circles?
In my circles, yeah, we really did. We're not really big. We are aware of Halloween in Kenya, but I think that's just an American thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anyone just goes trick-or-treating, mate. If you have candy in your house, that's your candy. No sharing and shit.
Exactly, right?
Yep. If your parents are good enough to get you candy and then you give it away to other kids, nah, mate, it's not happening.
Right? That's how you see the true colors.
Yeah, for sure.
There are casualties in the candy war in Kenya.
Even that, I'll be giving you one candy and that's it. Bloody handful.
You give me a lot of sweet things, don't you worry.
But it's just, I really enjoyed this. Like you mentioned, we'd probably mention Pennywise in this movie, but I think...
Dude, if I took a shot every time you mentioned Pennywise while we were watching this film, I would be passed out. Like...
No, I feel like Pennywise is put on a pedestal for some fucking reason that I don't understand.
Probably because it's Tim Curry.
And the fact that we have Freddy and Jason, who have such a really strong backstory as well.
Wow, okay.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of canon out there, and a lot of... because, well, back then I used to read the comics as well, and it was just... I don't know. I'm just a fan.
Freddy and Jason had comics?
Yeah.
And this is where if there was a Venn diagram of KT's expertise circle and OT's expertise circle, this is where they would not touch.
Oh, they would touch, all right.
No touching. It's an Arrested Development reference.
Yeah. But it's just, I don't know. I might be biased, but I'd take Jason and Freddy every day over Pennywise.
I don't think anyone was putting them in the ring together.
You did.
No, you did.
Well, I just went with it then. But
listen to our It episode, which covers the most recent Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 with our best friend Skarsgård in there, because OT had some spicy things to say about Pennywise as a character, not the Skarsgårds, because we do stand the Skarsgårds in the For Your Reference household.
No, I think if you ask anyone, mention a horror movie villain or something, and the first thing would be like Freddy or Jason. No, I don't think anyone would be like, oh, Pennywise.
But as a child, the imagery of clowns was fucking terrifying. Clowns were fucking terrifying, and that's what makes Pennywise so effective.
Mate, give me a guy in a hockey mask who is hard to kill, and I'll be frightened more than a clown.
Time to float, OT.
Oh, he can piss right off. I just tell him he's small and he'll disappear, won't he?
You're small. Yeah, we actually eradicated toxic masculinity in the It Chapter 2 and Chapter 1 episode. So you're most welcome. Feel free to check it out after this problems. One. One episode at a time, my friends. Okay, so is it my turn?
Yeah.
For first impressions? You know what? And It Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, the recent ones from your fellow relative Andy Muschietti, because you're 0.00005 Argentinian.
Oh, yeah.
We said it on the podcast, so it's true. I think that's the first traditional horror that we've actually covered For Your Reference. We've covered Upgrade, we've covered Get Out, we've covered Us. Us is a movie, whether it's a horror, No, it's a horror, not a movie, rather. We haven't really covered like Jaggernauts in the horror sort of community. So why not cover Freddy versus Jason for our Halloween episode?
Yeah.
Halloween is kind of a thing in Australia. Australia is kind of like the annoying younger sibling to America, where we try and just copy what they do and we don't really know why we do it. We just want to be super guy. Because I thought this was America. So Halloween is kind of a thing, not really a thing in Australia. But in the For Your Reference household, we do love a Friday night horror movie.
I'd like to think, growing up Mormon and being Tongan, was Halloween a thing, like in your circles?
Man, I left my circles alone and you brought it right back. You can have like faux horror, when I was in the church, they would have like, what do they call them? Trunk Halloween, like outside of people's cars, they would have like candy and stuff.
Oh, that sounds sus.
It wasn't Catholic. Let's just leave it, because actually in Freddy versus Jason, yes, Freddy and Jason were very scary, but there was some real shit going on. Like with Laurie's dad, forget about it. Like there was some real world horror going on in this film as well. But let's go. Let's capture off this film. As I've mentioned in a couple of episodes, and you've even hinted to now, I wasn't allowed to, as a brown Mormon girl, I was not allowed to watch horror films. And then when I got old enough to watch the films, it kind of didn't, like Chucky, for example, it just didn't scare me, because
Chucky's creepy. A doll that
it feeds to your childhood imagination, and if you're not a child anymore and you've been through life and you've seen some shit, then a talking doll isn't really that scary. And how can you say Chucky is scary and not Pennywise?
Oh, I'd run away from Chucky faster than I would from Pennywise. Mate, a doll that stabs people.
A 6 foot something Kenyan man would run away from a little doll.
My Kenyan legs would run so fast.
I don't believe you, sir.
Oh, man, you just don't. The optics alone.
Of a little doll?
You can see a little doll. A doll with a bloody scar across its face. Nah, man, I'm out. Dolls are creepy as.
Just kick it in the fucking head.
Doesn't do shit. I don't know. If you're not scared of Chucky and you're Pennywise, then there's something wrong with you.
I'm surprised that it took this many episodes and this many years for you to realize that. There you go, guys. So let's start off with this film. It really centers on Laurie's character. So, she's been damaged by the death of her mother, which she, through her boyfriend that was in the mental hospital, she finds out that her dad killed mum. Spoilers. But, we're all here for the spookies and all of the spoofies as well.
Oh, spoofies, eh?
Yeah, the spoopies. So, and then further on in the film, we find out that it was actually Freddy that killed her mum.
Yeah, and the dad
right?
was just trying to cover it up.
Can I just say, because we've watched Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one, and we've also watched the first Jason film. So that's as much reference as I have in my frame of reference. But I fucking love Freddy. He is sassy as hell. And we'll talk about who we think should win or did win. But I live for Freddy, because one of the lines that he has is when he says, "I've got something for the whores in this house." He's talking about the mum. Oh, he's so sassy. I am here for it.
He's sassy, and you have two very distinct characters in Freddy and Jason. Jason is this quiet one that will just slash anyone in his path, and Freddy has this personality to boot, and will just spit out one-liners that will make you giggle and laugh your pants off.
So I'm definitely the Freddy of this outfit.
Maybe the Pennywise.
Wow. Don't take a shot every time Pennywise is mentioned, because you will be on the floor as well.
But yeah, like I really enjoy this, and the fact that you have like just the sort of fundamental basics when you watched Freddy and Jason, and just watching Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. While I've watched the whole thing, it's just
sorry. Let's give OT some time to pull his glasses up.
some
wanker.
humble brag up there. But it's just like, it's enjoyable. Like, did you not have fun just watching this?
I did.
Compared to the nonsensical thing that we watched in It Chapter 2. Sorry, this is the last time I gotta mention it. Like, it just pissed me right off. And I just had fun. It's your slasher, typical horror movie. Yeah. Where you go in, you know exactly what you're gonna get. And they delivered it in tenfolds.
Oh, yeah, certainly. It was nice to see them bounce off on each other as well. According to IMDb trivia, because we are very learned around here, apparently there were early drafts of Michael Myers versus Jason, but they were saying that they were a bit too similar. So that's how we got to Freddy versus Jason, if you will. Also, according to the trivia, there were 2 twists that they were going to incorporate into the film, but they decided they were too contrived. Would you like to hear it, sir?
Oh, tell me.
So the first one is that Freddy either raped or consensually had relations with Jason's mum.
Oh.
So he unknowingly fathered Jason.
Ooh.
Can I just say, if that was one of the ones, I would throw something at the TV. Like, that would piss me off. Like, just really. But that was the first one. And the second one was that Freddy was actually a camp counselor, and he had something to do with the drowning of Jason. So this would have been like a culmination, a full character development of Jason coming to kill Freddy.
Oh, that's kind of interesting.
It was kind of interesting.
Like Freddy... We know that Freddy was given up by the mom because the mom was raped, and she was like, yeah, send Freddy away and all that. So I think it would kind of tie in if the same kind of happened with Jason.
Yeah, but I don't like when films are too pretty and it's all tied up together, because then it's like, really? I know we're living in a world where we have Freddy faces and Jasons that don't die, but give me some realism. It gets me off. Come on now. Right?
Yeah.
So those were the 2 twists that weren't incorporated because it would be too contrived. So it's just interesting to think of it in that sort of format. So let's go back to Laurie.
Yep.
She has her friends. We're just going to call you Kelly Rowland, and you're going to have to deal with it, love. And we've also got Gib as well. So let's focus on Gib and her boyfriend for a second.
Yep.
First of all, he was a fucking ass and a half.
Oh, he was a dick.
Right?
Yeah.
I think blank and a half is an Australian expression. You never heard of it until you came here, right?
No, we don't bleep anything. We just say it out.
No. Could you imagine if we got bleeped on this podcast?
It'll just be an hour long of bleeping.
Just like a clean rap song.
Yeah.
Get 10 seconds of Eminem saying the and.
A Kids Bop version of For Your Reference.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
And then instead of us swearing, it can be Theo licking his balls.
I think that would get censored as well.
So nothing will be allowed, essentially, to air. But let's go back to it. Her boyfriend was an ass and a half.
Yeah.
All the way through and through. You could see inklings of it, because as soon as he came to the door to greet Gib, which is presumably his pseudo sort of girlfriend, he was asking...
And just smell like cigarettes. Go get some menthol. Like, he really tried to keep it down.
But the way he was acting was like they've been married for 40 years. Like, how do you get that much bitter resentment? Because, again, these are supposed to be teenagers in school. It was quite clear that they weren't. Not to the level of Grease.
Oh, Grease is another level. I don't think it. My granddad played her. Played a high school. Nah, mate.
And when they were in the police station, they were like, "We've sent out a curfew for everyone under 18," and I was like, "Do they also send out a curfew for everyone under 40 as well?" But then, we say that, but then we also feel uncomfortable where someone looks like a teenager and they're having a sex scene. Insert Spartacus.
Yeah.
Oh, insert Spartacus everywhere, thank you.
But yeah, like Laurie and Kia were really crap friends to Gibbs, I think.
Yeah, so let's go back to Gibb and the boyfriend. And he was being really dickish, and he was like, "I'm not going to tell you a second time." Oh, OT knows better. And I think he values his life enough to know not to say that to me. Because not only would this podcast be over, but it's a wrap everywhere. So it was very satisfying. I was really worried because sometimes when you have dickish characters, they last way too long. But he died. He was the first one to die.
Oh,
so
no, I knew he was going to die. Like, you just
knew?
don't have such a character in a horror movie, like especially like Friday the 13th, and think that he's going to last. Nah,
Oh, that was so fucking satisfying, though.
yeah.
It was so... Even
Especially
the
the
way he died.
brutality it is.
Yeah.
The brutality of it all. It was quite satisfying.
Oh, it was so... I was like... yeah, it was great. All you needed was Jerry Springer to come in the corner. Oh, no. Yes, actually in both ways, to come in the corner. You're most welcome. It's for your reference, guys. Happy Halloween. And then we also had Gibb in the shower. The actress that plays Gibb signed onto the movie on the direct premise that she would do no nudity. And then you have Mr. Director Man asking or trying to get her to do a nude scene. So there was a lot of friction on the set. But that's a really dickish thing
Yeah,
to
it
do.
is dickish.
Like, it's like, okay, it is a horror movie. It might kind of be expected, but she actually had a clause in her agreement.
Yeah.
As well.
Especially with the Harvey Weinstein thing that made a little bit of this sort of practice of how to get people to do nude scenes came out to the light. It's a bit, when you see these scenes now, you're like, how consensual was this? You know what I mean? Like, anyway.
Well, people are getting stuff out of it, not just the actors, yes.
For sure.
So very, very satisfying death right off the bat. And I think it was enough to satiate you. So let's move on. Like, we've got this kill. He was a dick. So let's continue on to the rest of the film, right? I also thought it was quite an interesting premise of how they even brought the Freddy Jason dynamic into fruition. Because Freddy essentially became redundant because no one was scared of him. And, shout outs to the town. That was a whole effort to make everyone about it.
Yeah. And everyone that remembered Freddy was in a mental hospital being dragged out in hypnosil or something like that.
Hypnosil.
And it's just like the level of, and this is what you get, like, you know exactly the weaknesses of the character and you play to your strength. And they apply this so perfectly compared to other movies that I said I won't mention. And it's so well executed until things start going haywire when we have Will saying, on the news that someone had died in Laurie's house. And that's what triggers Freddy coming back into the town.
But it's actually quite an achievement that this small town was able to suppress this whole secret because of years and decades of living in the Freddy Krueger world. To think that the rest of the world doesn't even know about it, that is an achievement. So shout out to all of the caring parents and the caring members of the community that were able to hide such a big secret.
Yeah.
Right? So for a long time, Freddy essentially was rendered redundant, which shows you how useless he is. I guess it's similar to the sense of Pennywise, because if you don't believe in him or if you're not scared of him, then he can't really hurt you.
Yeah.
So you have that similar sort of dynamic with Freddy. So he was just laying in wait, and then Jason became his proxy.
Yeah, so this is quite interesting because you have Freddy in hell.
Yep.
And he stumbles onto Jason. And then he gets to see Jason's weaknesses, which is the mother, and he brings Jason back to life.
Who doesn't love a tasty Oedipus tale?
Exactly. So Jason is back to life, and he gets sent to the town so he could scare people, and people start remembering Freddy, which is quite a genius plan.
It's very effective.
It is effective, but the problem now is, I think Freddy didn't think long term what it meant. He thought Jason would be like /
Well,
done.
you can't control him.
Exactly.
He is, like you said, he is a brute and he kills to kill. He doesn't have situational awareness of, oh, maybe this isn't one that I kill.
Yeah, let me go back to camp and continue living my life of torturing kids that come to my place.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. And we've mentioned it a few times in our other episodes. One of my personal foundational qualms is people taking too long to accept the fantasy world that they're in and the role that they're going to play. I loved how everyone was like, okay, this is Freddy and he's back. You know, the cops were like, don't tell anyone, but Freddy's back. We need to deal with this. Right. And even when the kids finally found out, we didn't spend 20 minutes of trying to convince them. They're just like, oh, Freddy? Oh, and there's Jason? Cool. Let's get onto it. Let's just dive in to the lake, if you will, of this film. And I appreciated that because you didn't need that back and forth.
Yeah.
And then we could just get to the grisly sort of gore and action.
For the same reason why we're watching this movie.
Exactly. You know your audience and you cater to that.
Exactly.
Pretty much. And I don't think well maybe I did when I watched the first Friday the 13th. That Jason is a fucking creep.
Well, people are having sex in his backyard. Who is he to not, privacy and all? You're in his territory.
Well, technically...
His big brother, mate.
But technically that's the campground, so it's not his backyard.
It's his backyard.
Unless squatters' rights means ownership.
Exactly. The squatters' rights are everything.
I love how we're debating property titles on the Freddy versus Jason episode. But he was a fucking creep. Actually, his mum was also a creep because, spoiler, his mum was the one doing the killing in the first film. So she was the one watching in the barnyard.
Yeah.
Well, the apple doesn't fall far, does it?
No, it does not.
But man, and the actress that played the mother throughout the series consciously decided not to come back for Freddy versus Jason because she felt the role was too small for her. Thoughts?
I didn't like that. Like, I think sometimes the story has to take like priority and all. Like, it's just for the fans out there, and it would have been nice to see her. Like, I don't know, even if it's for a second here and there.
Yeah,
still worth it.
Like, let's add to the crescendo.
Yeah.
Of all the references and all the feels.
Yeah, for sure.
But the actress that played the mother for Jason, I think she was quite effective.
Yeah.
She made me feel bad about my childhood. So I have a question for you, OT. I don't know if you can answer this, but Jason seemed to have a deformity. Was that after he died, or did he have that already? Is that why he was bullied?
He had that already, and that's why he was bullied, and that's why he was drowned, supposedly. Well, there's like a gap where they really don't explain if he died when he drowned or he just washed up on the shore on the other side. So there's a lot of like people's theories and all about this, but he was already deformed and that's why he was being bullied and all.
But that's fun. It's fun to have a film that you can theorize over for years and years. And actually coming back to that, when we go back to when Jason comes to attack Gibbs' boyfriend, they actually don't show right at the point of view of him getting stabbed in his back, right? Yeah. They didn't necessarily show you everything, but I felt it was super effective. I feel like in 2019, we're so used to seeing a close-up shot of the neck being slashed. You know what I mean?
The guts flying out and all.
And it's like it just becomes something that you're used to seeing. Yeah.
I feel like if it's in your imagination, you can go as wild with it as much as possible.
Yeah.
And it just plays it to it plays to the horror bit a bit more, I reckon. Like, yes, gore and all can be scary, but it reaches a point where you're like, guts.
Yeah, but you don't actually have to see the point of impact, right? So, again, we talked about the brutality of it, but we didn't see every tiny slash or every, all of the violence close up. So I thought that was quite effective. And actually thinking about it, this came out in 2003. It aged quite well.
It really did.
Aside from the fashion, it's very early 2000s, but as a film, it actually holds up.
Yeah.
I think. In saying that, the writing wasn't great, but it's like a porn. A porno. It's like the pornographers. You're not really going there for the exemplary writing, right? So I didn't mind that the writing wasn't great. I also didn't mind that the CG wasn't great. It was effective enough to get its point across.
Yeah.
And this was just a great film to watch. And I really enjoyed it. Let's go to Kia, i.e. Kelly Rowland, and Laurie. They were dicks. Like you said, they were dicks to Gibbs' character.
Yeah.
Because Kia is spending all this time making sure that Laurie's okay, forgetting the fact that Gibbs' boyfriend just died. They kind of left her to her own devices when they were at the party.
Yeah,
or even
just
before that.
All alone. Like, they didn't even talk to her that much.
Yeah.
Like, it is ridiculous.
So I'm not really sure what the go is with that. But in regards to, let's talk a bit about Kelly Rowland's character. Also noting the fun fact that Kelly Rowland was from Destiny's Child.
Yeah, I didn't get the hype around Beyonce. Kelly was the shit.
Whoa, hey. You hearing that buzzing? The beehive is after us. But she was your favorite, right?
Yeah, like, I don't know. Growing up, Kelly was it. I don't know. I didn't get the hype around Beyonce and all. Well, I thought Kelly was better.
This is Katie from the For Your Reference podcast in 2019. The views expressed by OT is not shared with Katie. I just want to make that very clear. We love the spirit of Beyonce. So how was it seeing her in this film?
Oh, it was good, actually. I don't know. I didn't expect her to be in it, but I think in the early 2000s, you had like this sort of series where a lot of musicians were dipping their toes in movies. You'd get DMX with Jet Li, stuff like that.
If you want us, I actually just found out the other day that DMX and Jet Li were in a film together called Cradle to the Grave. So please let us know if you would like us to cover that very soon, because I genuinely have not watched it and I'm very excited to watch it.
Like it was really big. Like, you'd get a lot of musicians in movies and it'll get, it's some sort of fanfare, and I enjoyed it. I think she did well for what this movie was.
Well, no one was expecting a Halle Berry performance.
No, and neither should they. Like, it is what it is. I think she did fine.
Yeah, I think she did very well. But her character, if we want to get deeper than the surface of the film, she seemed very lonely. Like, you know how you have friends in life that, they're your ride or die and they're always going to be by your side. It seemed like she kind of went a bit beyond that. Like, yes, I care about you, but then she was overextending her care for Laurie. I don't know. It just seemed like she was quite lonely.
Yeah, I felt like she was quite lonely and jealous because we have that Miles Teller looking character, Charlie, I think.
Miles Teller.
Giving attention to Laurie, and Kelly or Kia being all dismissive and heartful and all, up until Charlie stood up to Kia, and then you could see, like, he was like, he stood up to me. Yeah. Ooh, I want to snap his dick off or something,
and snap it off.
And you could tell the dynamic changed a bit, where she was more kinder, and you could see that there was some interest in there.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to see how she even reacted to Charlie dying at the end and being all protective and all.
Yeah, and it's not a major qualm. It's just a baby OT qualm. She didn't really have much dimension. She just existed to look after the other characters.
Yeah.
And Roland has been through so much, and not being the lead of Destiny's Child must have weighed on her quite a lot. Has she not been through...
She was the lead to me. Did you hear something?
Where is she hiding?
I don't know who said that.
But let's go back to what I was saying. Kelly Rowland has been through enough The fact that she had to put her lips on Jason, that was not fair. So, you know, she got a triumph because she wasn't the first to die and she lasted quite a lot through the film. But I would rather die early in the film than to lay my lips on that disgusting. Ew. Oh my God. I was like dry heaving. Vomit.
But it comes to like life and death now.
Nah, man.
Would you not spare your, like, you're trying to save your friends here. You just close your mouth and give a blow and that's it.
We're not talking about your Friday night OT.
Like, I don't know.
That was
it's
disgusting.
disgusting, but you have to do it to save your friends. Like, I feel like if in that situation, disgusting doesn't come into play.
Actually, no, this is an alternate ending. Kelly jumps out of the van and goes to another town because no one else knows about Freddy. No one else knows about what the shit is going on in this town. And then, actually, no, that is the merging. And then she becomes part of the Destiny's Child and that's her future.
Now we know how the Destiny's Childs were formed.
Yeah, exactly. We've done it.
Alternate universes.
It's a multiverse of possibilities. I really liked Laurie as a character. She wasn't perfect, but I think she was quite solid to be the lead of this film.
Yeah, and she was quite smart for a lot of leads, especially in this kind of movies, where they usually are played like dumb and they don't really do the right things most of the time. But with Laurie, she's quite on it. When she's warned that the father was a bit dodge.
Why did she get out of the car though?
Like,
She shouldn't have gotten out.
But she still questioned it, you know? Like, she questioned it. She realized things were getting creepy and not being answered. Then she was like, okay, I'm out.
Yeah.
Not a lot of characters. People will just be like, yeah, I'll take the drug. I'll stay and play a good daughter or something. But she tries to be different. And when she realized that the dad was trying to save her or protect her from knowing that Freddy killed the mother, she was like, no, I'm not leaving. Yes, we can be safe and all and run away, but I want to see this through. I want to see Freddy die.
You're talking at the end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. When she's actually confronting her dad, it was weird that her dad just fessed up and was like, I didn't mean it to be that way. I was looking after you. Because I'm telling you, if my parents were keeping a secret from me, they would take that shit to the grave. And I would never find out.
Oh, you're still thinking of that chicken that's running in the farm somewhere? They told you about. Didn't you have a pet chicken?
Yeah.
And it ran to a farm? It's running in a farm somewhere? It's happy in the fields?
This took a really dark turn. I was not ready to address that frame of reference.
Oh, well, and that night you had chicken for dinner. I'm just saying you can put two and two together.
Hashtag too soon.
But yeah, I enjoyed Laurie for what she was. And I think she played really solidly. Like, kudos to her.
What do you think about Will, the boyfriend?
He's dumb.
Oh, wow.
No, he's like...
He was drunk and intoxicated off that pussy.
No, like, he had this, his friend, Mike.
Yeah.
And he knows Mike is a bit of a loose ball, you know, a loose cannon and all. But, I don't know. Like, I appreciated him for what he was, and especially in trying to protect Laurie. Took a lot. Like, he was
Mike was the one that got them out of that mental hospital.
Yeah.
So give him his credit.
But Mike, again, is the one that reminded everyone about Freddy.
Yeah, but you can't... No, but you can't blame him for that.
He didn't think this through.
How was he to know?
He knows how Freddy operates.
What Mike giveth, Mike taketh.
Yeah. But it was really sad to see him die without his friend having to, like, Mike dying and Will just standing there.
His ending was very Final Destination, was it not?
No, not really. It's just what Freddy, like, Final Destination is when things just happen coincidentally and it just turns into some horrific event.
Hey mate, I don't tell you how to reference your references. I don't take too kindly to your kind around here.
But yeah, like he was all right. I didn't like him or I didn't hate him. He was just there.
I liked him. I thought it was good value.
Mm.
And you saw his brother in the tub as well.
Yeah.
But it's really Freddy. And us in the For Your Reference household do not perpetuate that gingers are from hell. I just want to say, I just want to put that on the record. We love everyone. Just like, actually, Freddy only loves the kids. How does that premise work? So he was a pedophile when he was alive.
He wasn't a pedophile.
Yes, he was. He loved kids.
God. He killed kids.
And he just
I don't know what you...
Okay, so he kills kids. He just licks it after.
He was sticking the picture on the book. I don't know. It looked creepy, but it's not that he meant that he was a pedo. Oh my God.
He is. He's a fucking pedo.
He just killed kids.
Okay, guys. Again, the only frame of reference I have is the first film and Freddy vs. Jason. So feel free to correct me. But he was giving me vibes. I would not leave
Freddy's origin is that he killed kids, and the parents of the kids he killed burnt him, and he became this undead evil that came up to children in their dreams and killed them, in that realm.
But do you not see how sexual he gets?
He is a bit sexual, but that doesn't mean he's a pedo. Like, I don't know how you do that.
Is this really the side you want to be on?
I'm just saying, having read and seen Nightmare on Elm Street, I don't think a situation where I felt like, okay, this guy's a bit pedo-y.
Wow. I never thought, we've covered a lot, highs and lows of humanity, but I really didn't think we would get to this point.
I think maybe I'm just simple-minded, because from what I remember is that he just killed kids, and now that he's dead, the people he kills, he becomes stronger from their souls. So,
well, I'm just saying, he was giving me some vibes.
No, like his sexual nature when he's attacking the teenagers and all. He makes sexual one-liners and all.
You are really holding on to this, aren't you?
Anyway, we can continue.
I'm just saying, he's giving me vibes, and they don't seem as harmless as Herbert the pervert from Family Guy. Okay,
Herbert is not harmless, mate.
Chris. He was giving me vibes. Is all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
Are you done? Can we move on to a potentially less divisive topic?
Yep.
So when the law enforcement, they kind of dropped off by the second half of the film, right?
Yeah, because now the kids were taking control.
Actually, no, they did have that one
cop was helping them, and he died pretty quickly.
He died. Yeah, but did you think he was going to survive much longer? Let's go back when they went to Weston, which is the mental hospital. So they had Hypnosil.
Yep,
Hypnosil. Another fact, on the set of the film, Ken, who plays Jason, he's been a stuntman for over 10 years. The special effects sparks actually went onto his costume, and he was actually on fire.
Really?
For a brief period of time. But because he's an OG stuntman, he was very calm about it.
Wow.
Right? That would not happen to me. And while we're on the topic of more facts, Rey Mysterio, the wrestler, was actually one of the stuntmen for Freddy.
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Right? Yeah. To tarnish him in any way. Did he drop off from wrestling, or maybe I just stopped watching it? I watched it. When I stopped watching wrestling, that's when Batista and Rey Mysterio were in. So I don't know if he's still there. Do you know?
I don't know. I stopped watching it ages ago.
But I felt like you watched it longer than I. And actually, on the point of wrestling, Jason really reminded me of Kane.
Oh, yeah.
And I would put my mouth to his mouth, but I wouldn't put my mouth on Jason.
Oh, Kane is horrifyingly
Was he disfigured in any way?
No, he's just creepy ass.
Because,
earlier version of Kane where he had this red mask.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But I need the Kane with hair. I don't want the Kane that's bald.
When Kane came into the scene, he scared me more than Undertaker. And that took a lot of doing.
But I feel like Undertaker, he was a persona. Kane, you didn't know whether he came straight from the local bicycle club. Not bicycle, motorbike.
Yeah, wow. That was an arc in wrestling that I remember till this day.
But I have a spooky conspiracy theory. I always felt like Mike Foley was actually Kane.
No. Mike
Foley's the one with the socks saying have a nice day.
The one that used to stick the socks into people's mouth. Nah, he's short and fat. Kane is tall and now you're crazy.
It's called Spanx, motherfucker. I am putting it on the record, okay? I feel like Foley and Kane were the same person.
You're ridiculous. They're completely different body sizes and shape.
Actually, do you remember what you were saying 5 minutes ago? I would prefer what I just said than what you were saying.
If there's Spanx that transforms someone from Mike Foley to Kane, someone should be making a killing.
Yeah, Kim Kardashian.
Anyway.
And that's the first Kardashian reference. You're most welcome, everyone. But let's go back to the film. Let's just talk about Freddy and Jason as horror icons. I don't even know if people say horror icons, but I'm going to do it. Come and fight me. Who do you think is stronger? We can also talk about who you like better, but let's talk about who would win in a fight.
Okay, it depends. In the dream world, Freddy is king through and through. He can't be touched.
Yes.
But if Freddy is fighting Jason in the real world, then Jason is definitely stronger. Like, you can't... Everyone has their strong suit. Mm-hmm. Freddy isn't that good outside his dream because he can't manipulate people into thinking things or using their weaknesses.
All he has is himself, and his strength does not match Jason's.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can't say one's stronger than the other. It depends on where they're fighting.
Well,
because Jason had to come out of the dream world to be able to fight Freddy. All right, so Jason has this subconscious weakness of water. Uh-huh. And once Freddy...
It's quite conscious, but yes.
No, it's subconscious. Like, he can be in water in the real world.
It left him unconscious, but it's quite conscious.
No, seriously, though. It's this subconscious feel of water. And when Freddy realized that, he used it to his advantage. Mm-hmm. Jason and his mom, bloody hell, that's some weird, twisted dynamic. So it was interesting to see how he was able to, like, just make Jason look so weak and vulnerable. Mm. But once you leave that world and come back to reality, the real world, Jason wins all day, every day.
Okay, what if they were on a bridge between the dream world and reality? Give me a straight answer, motherfucker. Who would win?
Maybe if it's being divided into a bridge, I feel like, okay, Freddy would win because I think he's crafty. He's more, yeah. He's crafty, he's sneaky, he's more conniving than Jason is. So maybe that he would be able to play that into his strength and drag Jason more towards the dream side. But yeah.
Because we saw at the end of the film that Jason won. But then you had some like Looney Tunes at the end, and then Freddy winks, and but I think that was more of like a superfluous thing. I don't think that was the genuine.
Like, there's a comic afterwards. Mm-hmm. Try to explain this. I think it's non-canon, but still.
Sorry, let's give OT some time to pull his glasses up again.
No, it's Freddy versus Jason versus Ash. Uh-huh. Ash is from Evil Dead. Okay. So there's this theory where Jason got his powers from this book called the Necronomicon, where Freddy lives in Jason's mind for 5 years before he's able to escape.
Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. So it's quite well thought out, and I feel like if there's ever going to be a follow-up rather than a reboot, because I think in the real timeline, the last movie is Jason vs. Freddy. Uh-huh. And everything that afterward has just been reboots of the old ones. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to continue from that point, especially in the timeline, to see exactly how this worked out in the end.
Yeah.
And this would bring in Ash from Evil Dead. Whew! Sploosh Mountain. Talk about multi-universes, mate.
At risk of getting kicked off my own podcast, I also haven't seen that.
Oh, dear.
I test your love for me every way. In ways unseen by most.
Yep.
According to the IMDb trivia as well, some of the first concepts for the film included Jason being held accountable for his crimes. So a good chunk of the film would have been set in a courtroom. What would be the fucking point?
Yeah, nah.
Right? And the lawyer for him would actually be the lead. Freddy versus Jason's lawyer. That would be fucking terrible. Right? Actually, I would be here for a Law and Order SVU episode with Mariska Hargitay and Jason.
What? No.
Because in the twist that I was going to mention earlier, where Freddy was a camp counselor, they were going to allude to the fact that Freddy molested Jason. So you would have Mariska Hargitay saying, "On this doll, please show us what Freddy did to you."
Oh. Wow. Man, Ice-T and Jason in the same room, eh?
Wow. That is an iconic collab no one even thought to put together.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sure.
Also, another early concept for the script of this film was that it was going to be a cult that resurrected Freddy, and then another cult trying to stop that cult, so they resurrect Jason. So I kind of like that they left it between Freddy convening with him in hell. I think that was a much better, less convoluted way of doing it.
Agreed.
And it probably helped to cut a lot of screen time as well. Because it's like, you have The Walking Dead, but if I was to draw a graph, the excitement and the exhilaration that you get from a zombie sort of thriller, whether it's a TV show or whether it's a movie, is how finite time is, and you could be on the cusp of death at any time. But if the show's going on for like 8 or 9 seasons and people are having children, then all of that thrill has gone out the window, right?
Yeah.
So I like that the running time for Freddy versus Jason was very succinct.
Yeah, agreed. Like it's you get what you expect from such a movie.
Oh yeah.
And they don't disappoint at all. If you're a fan of slashers, if you're into like horror tropes and jump scares, like it has everything for anyone. Even though it's not scary per se, it's enjoyable nonetheless.
Well, I guess it's a relative thing about whether you get scared or not. Because
True,
maybe, teenagers would find this scary.
Yeah.
Which has been a long time for us. But I think it has, like you said, all of the makings of a horror film.
Yeah.
And it does it quite well. Let's talk about some real world horror with Laurie's dad.
But that was, I know what you're talking about. When Laurie's dad was kissing.
So Laurie fell asleep when they were trying to plan how they were going to execute infiltrating Freddy and Jason.
Yes. Oh, is this where Freddy said, "Your eyes say no, no, but my mouth says yes, yes." Creepy. Wow.
And you still say he's not a pedophile. Maybe he's like those girls that turn up on a Friday night and a Saturday night, but then they stumble into church on a Sunday. Are you saying that's what Freddy was like? He was a saint when it came to children?
He was killing them, so he's definitely not a saint.
Saint pedo. But I don't know, man. Like, even taking away Freddy and Jason, the dynamic that she had with her father, that was creepy. Even when she was about to go to school and the dad was trying to stop her, she was like, "I gotta go to work, Daddy."
Yeah. Not trying to think too much about that, but it was creepy.
I know you're not thinking about it, but I can see you thinking about it.
Like, it's just I don't know. It was weird.
It was weird, and it reminded me of Patricia Arquette and Joey King in The Act. Because there's a name for that, of people that make other people think they're sick. And that's what he was doing with Hypnosil, rather.
No, he wasn't making them sick.
He was making Laurie sick by putting it in her juice and making her docile so she couldn't have dreams.
But that's not making her sick, is it? Like, it was just so that to protect him from Freddy. And I think it was quite on their part, especially when it came to the people who had already encountered Freddy. Because Freddy's power was pretty much mitigated by the fact that
just because you're my daddy and I kiss you on the lips doesn't mean that behavior is acceptable between Laurie and the dad.
Mate, I'm not putting Quaaludes in your drink.
Yes, because you actually put the generic one because you can't afford the Quaaludes. It's gone up in value.
Oh, bloody hell. They're actually trying to do something good. They don't need to know about Freddy. And I felt like it was a brilliant plan. Make the kids not dream.
But are you also acknowledging that where everyone were pretty much like on life support because they took too much? How about those people?
Yeah, that was a bit weird, But there's like downsides to everything, Like the optics. We talked about the OI just the other week, and when they would set up Amsterdam. In theory, I think it would work, but then the optics of it all is just a bit too much to handle. When you're there on the ground, you're like, this is a bit too much.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Hypnosis. Like, I feel like the optics, for me at least, work as well. Yes, there'll be a few who would overdose on it, but I think it outweighs the risk.
Well, so OT will never be the sheriff of Daddywood because
everyone will be on Hypnosil.
Everyone will be on Hypnosil and kissing their daddies. Pretty much. I feel like you would slot in quite well in a horror movie. But you would not be the one people are cheering for.
To be honest, I don't think there's a lot of people who cheer for the for the humans when you're watching Freddy or Jason.
Because it kind of feeds to our primal need of seeing people die.
Mate, if that's your primal need, you need to get checked.
No. Because we're exactly on this, and we're talking about this in, other episodes as well. We have an increasing morbid, wanton desire for the morose and death. And, women watch Mindhunter. Exactly. So it is a primal need. Natural selection, motherfucker.
Well, anyway, all I'm saying is I understood what the town did. I understand what Laurie's dad did, and I'm on board with that because it pretty much got rid of Freddy for a couple of years.
I think this inadvertently became a psychological dump of OT right now because you were sharing some things that that the world was not ready to hear, my love. But it's very impressive. The way that they executed it was a bit much, I think. It was literally a spray and pray sort of effect that they had on all the children. But yeah, credit to the conviction and the conviction of you for defending them.
Yeah.
So let's the final standoff with Freddy and Jason. So you already mentioned that Jason was going to win. I think it was quite clear that Jason would win. Like, he doesn't have any other settings in his operating system. It was just kill, without any sort of circumstance or Freddy, I don't know. He's more interesting to watch though. Like, if you think of, Freddy and Jason about to, I don't know, they're at a restaurant and they're about to consume a meal. Jason will literally just scoff it down and just eat it straight away.
Yeah.
Freddy would most likely fuck it, but he would also caress it and have some very good one-liners as well. Not to say I want to have dinner with either of them, but Freddy would definitely be more entertaining.
Yeah, he would be more entertaining. And I like the fact that they took Jason back to the camp so he could have a home advantage against Freddy. Mm-hmm. And it just set up this sort of grandiose battle, which was like a young boy's wet dream. Like, watching this too. Well,
it was also Jason's wet dream, but unfortunately it turned into a nightmare. There's a tagline, guys.
But I enjoyed it. Like, the fight was quite nice. It also showed how skilled Freddy is because he was slashing Jason back and forth without.
He did not give up. Yes.
No, he did not.
And even when they were in like a construction section and he was like swinging that big like cement mixer, I think it was, and then he had the cart and the cart got stuck and fell down. He was very he had an ingenuity to him.
He did.
That was quite admirable. And you would think that they had a perfect balance because they had clearly defined roles. They didn't really overlap. Like, Freddy was crafty, he was conniving, but he was very smart. And then you have Jason, who was brute.
Yeah, just
So
a
you would
simple
think-
slasher, yeah.
Yeah, so you would think they would work quite well together, but then I guess that's where you have Jason just doing anything he wants, so you can't really control him in that sense.
Yeah.
Do you think, nearing the end of the film, we have him confronting his mum, right? Do you think in any ways he's kind of broken ties, Oedipus ties, from his mother?
Nope.
Not at all?
No. That's who he is. Like, intrinsically, he would always be tied to his mother, regardless of what Freddy tries to pull out of the hat. Like, that relationship is set in stone, and the mother will always spur Jason to be how the hell he is at the moment.
Yeah.
And no one would be able to break that, because that's intrinsically who Jason is.
Yeah. I get ya. That makes sense. So do you think Freddy survived at the end of it?
Yeah. Because in the comic books, he's still alive. He's captured in Jason's mind for 5 years, but he still finds a way out afterwards. But he's still very much alive. And the fact that he blinked to the screen like Bugs Bunny at the end just shows you everything you needed to know.
No,
he wasn't.
That could
He
just
wasn't
be a
done for.
That could just be a tongue-in-cheek thing and not actually what happened.
Like, he's already undead. You can't kill him twice, can you?
True.
You can take away his powers, but he'd just try and figure out a way to come back the same way he did in the beginning of the movie.
So just a question, because in this dynamic you are more learned. Can you kill Freddy and or Jason, or are they kind of immortal?
You can kill them both. You can sort of kill Freddy in terms of stripping him
until
from
another
all-
franchise comes out and then they're alive again.
Yeah. Jason, because Jason was killed in like the last 3 movies of I don't know.
Yeah, and he was resurrected from hell. That's how he came
but-
into this film.
Jason has been killed several times, so it's possible. It's just a matter of making him stay dead.
Yeah. But I feel like the film was quite interesting because you could see, even when they had their fights, even with Freddy rejuvenating and, creating his own limbs again, like his arms, for example, like you could see that this film could go on forever long it needed to. And then once they wanted to crescendo, they would crescendo, right? So that was quite clear. But it was interesting. It kept me engaged all the way throughout. And they also managed to have that story with Laurie at the center of it as well. And it kept it quite interesting.
Yeah, it did. And I enjoyed, like, there's a lot of backstory in Freddy and Jason. You get to understand them as a character and who they are as this sort of villains.
Yep.
Everyone having their identity and their cause and their weaknesses strictly laid out. And I guess this is where I had my qualms with Pennywise, because it's also subjective, and the fact that people figured out his weakness, but then they all got brainwashed, it just seemed all too bold and beautiful for me. Like, when you're rooting for a character they've fallen in love, they've just revealed the feelings for each other, and then one gets hit by a car, next minute he's in a coma, and then he wakes up and thinks, oh, I'm in love with this other woman.
That also sounds like every Korean drama as well.
Like, it's such a weird, silly trope that's being used so much. And I was like, if you're gonna put it on a pedestal to be one of the best horror movies to date, and it grossing the most money as well, I'm like, there's like so much solid characters out there, better than Pennywise, who are more layered, and you know exactly what you're gonna get in terms of the backstory, who they are, intrinsically, their powers, the limit to their powers, and how to get rid of them. And they just feel all mixed up with Pennywise, and I was like, piss right off.
Well, hold on to your Krugers, because that's essentially the premise of Freddy versus Jason. So in it, you get a reset because, like you said, as soon as they leave the town, they forget. And the reset that you have in Freddy versus Jason is everyone's been drugged, so they don't remember it, or at least he can't emerge from their dreams. So that is resetting the narrative as well.
It's not really resetting the narrative in the same perspective, though, is it?
No, but in an essence,
Like, it makes
is
more
resetting.
sense.
Well, it doesn't matter because it's resetting the narrative, and you just had a qualm about Pennywise. The same thing happens in this film.
Not to the same extent, though. Like, we're starting a movie from scratch, bringing two iconic characters together.
Mm-hmm.
So it's understandable to some degree as to why Freddy isn't rampant already on Elm Street. It's understandable because we already know exactly what's happened in the last version of Freddy and in what happened in Jason when he was taken to hell or something. So we already know that. There's like heaps of movies that are explained up to that point. So it's more writing it progressively forward.
It's all semantics, my friend, because in any case, the story gets reset and the characters have to relearn this horror villain, right?
Not really relearn. They already knew it. Like, they just suppressed it. Like, they didn't have to
Oh my God. So they knew they suppressed. It doesn't matter. They have to start back from base. And you know what?
No, from base. Pennywise started from 0. They started back from, let's say, 5. Lord. It's a scale to 10.
Oh, Lord.
At least they knew exactly what they needed to do once they saw that Freddy was back.
You know what? I can't even begin with you because you did outset from the premise say that you are biased. So let's just leave it because what you're saying is like apples and apples, mate.
Okay, let's talk about how you defeat them, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all know Jason and Freddy's weaknesses, and then you have Pennywise, who is merely defeated by screaming teenagers. I am not going to even touch that with a 10-foot pole. Like, far out. It was just like Martha being used in Superman and versus Batman, and it was just ridiculous. The same way you get to understand the intricacies of all these characters, you have to understand there's a fundamental layer of, if they're this powerful, there should be a logical way of getting rid of them. Me shouting explicitives at them and saying they're small or whatever is not one of them.
Ertie, you're small. You're small. You're small.
Like I said, yeah, you said I'm biased, and I am because I grew up on Jason and Freddy more, and I was more connected to them as characters rather than Pennywise. But you can't justify to me how this, although a smaller budget, I enjoyed it more than I did it.
Well, that's your frame of reference.
It is my frame of reference.
If we're talking about devices in a narrative, then you're dead wrong, mate. However it happens, both sets of protagonists and supporting characters... But not to the same scale.
That's what I mean.
Oh, Lord. Wow. You know what? When you edit this, you're going to hear this back, my friend. And I know you're a proud peacock, baby, and you are not going to admit it. But I'll be damned if you, in all your intelligence, don't see that you're dead wrong. Because the plot devices are exactly the same in It Chapter 2 and also in Freddy vs. Jason. Whether you want to admit that is on your own volition.
One took us for a 3-hour journey and the other one was an hour 30.
Yeah, but you're bringing up shit that has nothing to do with anything. I'm focusing on the plot point that they reset.
They didn't really reset in that manner, though. Like, it's completely different.
Okay. It seems like OT needs a reboot of his system because he's not quite getting it.
I just don't think you'll get me to say anything bad about this movie. And I don't think you'll get me to say anything bad about Jason and Freddy.
This isn't,
especially compared to Pennywise.
This isn't 60 Minutes. I'm not trying to get you into a soundbite.
It sounds like it. Mate, wow. In Kenya, we don't really have this sort of weird journalism that Australia has in 60 Minutes and shit, where people get led on. And
it's not just Australia, America does it too.
Well, I've watched
John Oliver has a running series of sound bites for 60 Minutes, and that's in America and not Australia, mate.
I'm just saying, my first frame of reference was with how Australian journalists worked, and it was so outlandish. I was like, is this even legal? What the fuck is this I'm watching? But anyway, we're getting off topic.
Don't put me in that. Who else is not safe from OT's paths today? Are there any other qualms you want to lay out there?
No, those are all the qualms that I have.
Because, Lupita came and filmed here recently for Little Monsters, which is a great film to watch. So I'm not sure why you don't appreciate this sunburnt country.
I do appreciate it. I love it. It's journalism. Could just do some work.
In the words of Freddy to you, OT, I say, what a treat, dark meat.
Oh, that was unexpected.
It was actually a reference to an earlier film of the franchise.
Yeah, I did not, I've forgotten all that until I watched this. I was like, wait, what? It took me aback, but it was fun nonetheless.
Well, who knew a spooky time would be a divisive time for OT at the 4-Year Reference podcast? But, you never know what you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
Well, wasn't that a fun time, kiddies of age, of consent? Thank you for joining us on Halloween special, where we covered Freddy versus Jason, otherwise known as OT versus Pennywise. We're going to wrap up in a segment we call For Your Reference. OT, take it away.
I'm gonna reference Child's Play because it has Chucky, one of the most iconic.
Sorry.
You can't talk about horror movies without talk about Chucky. In as much as you think that it's just a doll, he is creepy as, and he caused a lot of frightening nights in my house. So if you've not watched Child's Play, please get to it. It's just fun horror without taking itself too seriously. And you know what? You'll have a good time.
We need to have a bonus episode where we dive into this. You were scared of a doll and not a clown.
Nah.
Is any other references?
Yeah, Child's Play is all you need to know. If you've already got Jason and Freddy down, you need Chucky in your arsenal.
Well, that just hurts because your team doesn't win all the time.
Oh, wow.
Your small arsenal. There you go. I've defeated the beast that is OT, at least for now. I will reference It, Motherfucker, the mini-series with Tim Curry, and also with our Skarsgård. It, Chapter 1 and also Chapter 2.
Oh, if you don't want to have fun, then you can watch that.
Well, hopefully you guys had a great spooky time with us. Let's capture it off. If you have any major qualms that you want to lay out in regards to OT and Pennywise, please send us an email on
hello@fypodcast.com.
On our socials, we are on Twitter and Instagram for your ref pod. We're not really on Facebook anymore. Let us know if that's still a benefit to you guys.
Oh, Mark Zuckerberg was roasted this week, and it was just Facebook could be run better, and you could catch us on any other platform apart from that.
And there you go, guys. We'll see you next week. For he's a jolly good Freddy.